Big story that we're breaking right now nationwide at 6, which is Donald Trump has come back with his tariff threat. He's in fact doubled down on it. He spoke about it yesterday. In less than 24 hours, he's reiterated it. But most importantly, he has spoken about pharmaceuticals imported into the US, which he says could eventually attract a tariff of as high as 250%. Let me get in my colleague Disha Bagchi, who's been tracking this story very closely for us. Disha, till now, the pharmaceutical was a sector that was kept out of the domain as far as tariffs is concerned. What are we really looking at potentially in terms of the impact for India?
Absolutely. So earlier, US President Trump had made it clear that he's going to leave certain critical sectors, whether it's pharma, electronics, out of this whole tariff war that he's essentially now raging on India. But now today he's saying that while initially he had given numbers like 25% tariffs on pharma, and that's what the sector could look at, but now he's really upped that ante, said it's more than 10 times the number now, saying that initially for a year, the pharma sector could face 150% tariffs, but that could reach as high as 250%. And this announcement is expected in the next week or so. This is going to have a massive impact on India, given the fact that India is considered as the pharma hub, the medicine hub of the world, and the US is a crucial market for India. Almost 31% of India's pharma exports go to the US, and roughly 50% of the generic drugs that are sold in the US are developed and manufactured in India. So it's not just going to have a massive impact on India, but it's also going to massively impact the healthcare sector in the US, because remember that India is considered the manufacturing hub of pharmaceuticals, because we are able to give low cost, highly effective drugs across the globe. But if these drugs are now being developed by American companies in the US, it will drive up costs immensely for the consumers, really having a massive impact on the healthcare industry in the US as well. But for India, it's definitely going to hurt the pharma sector, given the fact that, as I mentioned, roughly a third of our pharma exports head to the US market. So again, a massive provocation, a massive threat by US President Trump, after he already doubled down on India yesterday over India's imports of Russian oil, saying that in the next 24 hours he's going to announce a new levy on India and a penalty on India for their imports of Russian oil. But with that, now this announcement of tariffs on pharmaceuticals is again a provocation and escalation in this tariff war.
Indeed, and Disha, the fact is that India is a very large provider of low-cost medicines. So when we export about 35 to 36% of our overall pharma exports to the US, the American consumer also stands to benefit. It's not like what this threat is only going to impact the Indian pharma industry. We'll find probably alternative markets. It will take us about 3 to 6 months. But what happens to the American consumer? He needs to pay that much more for drugs.
Absolutely, and this is essentially what President Trump was trying to do, not make the American consumers pay more, but get American companies, American drug companies, American pharma companies to manufacture drugs in America. And this is what he thinks will make America great again. But will it really? Because what the immediate impact is going to be is that American consumers, certain reports have even said that the cost of medicines, generic medicines, over the counter medicines could go up as much as 6 times, because India as a provider gives low cost generic drugs, and as I mentioned, almost half of those over the counter drugs are manufactured and exported to the US. So the American consumer is really going to face that burden quite a bit.
All right, we'll leave it there. Disha, thanks much for breaking that down for us. So viewers, you saw that fresh threats that's coming from Donald Trump. But remember, trade is a two-way street. If he thinks he's going to penalize India for an independent decision it has taken in terms of where it goes ahead and buys its oil to fulfill its energy needs, it's going to come back and bite the American consumer as well. And we at NDTV will keep getting you that big story. But with